Welcome to the CSE's Asian Heritage Month podcast. My name is Phillip Shum. I'm the Director of Listings Development for the CSE out of Toronto, Canada. We have our first guest today, Anish Chopra. Welcome, Anish.
Thanks for having me, Phil.
One of the things that we're talking about here is diversity in the capital markets amongst Asian individuals and the Asian diaspora. So I'd like to go ahead and maybe do a little highlight on yourself and maybe have you introduce your job and the company you're with.
My name is Anish Chopra. I am a portfolio manager and managing director at Portfolio Management Corporation. We manage over $500 million in assets for high net worth individuals and their families. And my role is as a wealth manager. So I look after investments, the financial planning, the tax aspects of the different investments. And I've been with Portfolio Management Corporation for almost 6 years now.
In preparation for this discussion, I've looked over your background and you've got a lot of letters attached behind your name. So I'm wondering if you can go ahead and just walk us through your background.
In university, I thought maybe to go into accounting because it was an interesting way to learn about business, because business, when it reports its numbers, it certainly talks accounting. So understanding the language of business was important to me. So I did a bachelor's and master's in accounting, then qualified at the time. It was known as being a chartered accountant. Today, after the amalgamation of the different designations, it's a CPA, so a chartered professional accountant. But what I did there was I started out in audit, and I didn't find the work that exciting. There was a lot of it, but it wasn't very exciting, at least for me and for what I was looking to do. And I said, wow, I really want to go into another area with a bit more excitement. So an opportunity came along, and I was fortunate enough to go into investment banking. So that's the raising of funds and providing advice to corporations. And for me, I ended up in mergers and acquisitions, which is the purchase and sale of businesses. And the work was very, very interesting, but it was also very, very intense. So it took up a lot of hours, a lot of nights and weekends. And when I look back at my audit career, I said, wow, this isn't exciting enough. When I was in mergers and acquisitions, I said, wow, this is a bit too exciting. So it takes up all of my time. I need to find that happy balance. So
yes, it's right in between.
Yeah, exactly. So what I was fortunate at that time, an opening came up at an asset manager at TD Asset Management, and they managed what was then called or still called proprietary money management. So you manage money that was the bank's own money. So it was their balance sheet that they would put to work. So there, I was able to use my mergers and acquisition skills and go into an area that essentially specialized in special situations, mainly merger arbitrage, distressed debt, pairs trading. So it was quite a learning experience. And I stayed there for 10 years, managing proprietary capital on behalf of the bank. So saw lots of interesting things, saw the rise of the internet, the dot-com era, the decline of the dot-com era. So very, very interesting. If you go back about 20 years in tech, then got to see the great financial crisis. And at that point, my job did change. So I was managing proprietary funds on behalf of the bank, but in the great financial crisis, as a result of the changes in the rules for financial institutions, they could no longer manage their own money in the markets. So then I moved to managing mutual fund money. So managed just a variety of different mandates, from asset allocation to value funds, looked at high yield bonds, investment grade bonds. So it was a very different career from where I started. Remember, I'm starting out as an auditor in accounting, and then I'm moving to an investment manager. And then at the end, I was fortunate enough to have a team of 30 people and managing about $100 billion. So a lot of people, a lot of responsibility. But what I really wanted to do was get back to working with clients, working on investments, and that opportunity came up with Portfolio Management Corporation. And when it did, I was thrilled. I was thrilled to join them.
Wow, that's quite the background. So you started off in accounting, you became an investment banker, and then you became a fund manager. So in terms of like the work that you've done, what really kind of inspired you? And then, well, I guess initially to work with in accounting, and you kind of addressed that, but I'm wondering if you can elaborate a bit more about that.
Sure. So I grew up on a farm, and one of my, guiding thoughts as I got into late high school was that I didn't really enjoy dealing with the elements. So working in the cold and in the snow and in hail, in the heat, dealing with bugs, just wasn't something I thought I should spend another 40 years doing. So I thought, where else can I go? And I was reading books on Warren Buffett and Peter Lynch's books as well at the time. And I thought the investment business sounds quite interesting. Maybe I should try and get there. But I was risk averse in my thought process, thinking that some of these careers, whether it's investment banking, portfolio management, there's quite a bit of glamour associated with them, which means that there's also risk associated with them. So it was better to take the lowest risk path that I could. And that would be if I can go into accounting. My thought process as a high school student was simply, at the time, and less so today, was that even if I couldn't get into investment banking or portfolio management, I could always do tax returns in a basement. Well, technology came along and simplified even that tax return process. So the thinking was okay, but a little light on the technology side. But that was the guiding thought process in late high school. Get a solid education in business where I could launch a career, whether it's in investment banking, in portfolio management, or even if that didn't work out, I could do tax returns. I could stay in accounting. I could specialize in corporate tax. There were lots of options, just using that accounting as a base.
Okay, yeah, I agree with that. I've actually someone recently asked me if they were a 18-year-old person, should they go into business, like that is business administration at a university, or should they take accounting? And like we had a few people around the table, and we all had different opinions, but most people actually agreed with starting in accounting first, because you have a great understanding of how things work behind the scenes. Okay, so moving on to the next question. So I'm wondering if you can tell us, at your current role, what's the most exciting part of your job?
I would say understanding investments, analyzing investments, crunching numbers is an interesting part of the job. But I would say that really the most interesting part of the job is working with clients and helping them achieve their goals, whether it's helping their kids grow their RSP so that education funding for their family is taken care of, or help clients achieve their retirement dreams. It's really being able to take investments and financial planning and help people achieve their goals. So to me, that's the most interesting, gratifying, exciting part of the job. It's just dealing with clients, client interaction, and helping them achieve their goals.
For your current role, do you have any words of advice for someone who want to get into the industry?
Sure. If you look at, let's say, the broader investment or capital markets business, I guess a few words of advice. There's certainly a lot of opportunity for young people. It is competitive, though, and the best way to do it is, and I'm sure the young people listening today would have already heard this advice, but get good grades, have strong extracurricular activities. I would say the one area that I should have worked on more in university and high school, but it wasn't as well thought through then as it is today. But try and network and get to meet people as best you can. But then once you've taken some of those initial steps and things are working along, I would say just be very flexible and very open, like trying to get to where you want to go in your career. So let's say you were like me and you were in investment banking. it is tough, and it was tough for me to move from investment banking into investments. I tried to get the closest jump point that I could. So I was doing mergers and acquisitions, and then there was an opportunity investing in merger arbitrage. So merger arbitrage is when you have one company that's in the process of taking over another company, which is, I would have done that advisory work in investment banking, but now I look at it as an investor. So I do have skills that are complementary and that can move over from the investment banking world into the investing world. So if you're a young person, if you're looking at, how do you move your career, I would say just be very flexible, be broad in your thinking, be willing to go into other areas. There's lots of great opportunities in risk management. Think geographically as well. So not just, if I'm in Toronto, are there opportunities in Toronto, but maybe there's opportunities in Montreal, maybe there's opportunities in Calgary that you want to access, as well as the thought that for me, which was, I've done a bachelor's in accounting, I've done a master's in accounting, I did my CA, but the education really didn't stop there. I got my Chartered Business Valuator designation. I also qualified as a CFA, so Chartered Financial Analyst. So you continue learning throughout, because you just have to get the skills, both practical experience skills as well as the academic requirements in order to move along in your career.
Okay, great answer. So how would you say that at this point in your life, or even as you were growing up, how has your heritage shaped how you turned out to be?
When I look at it, I was fortunate to grow up in Canada. And the great thing about Canada, it's just a melting pot of a variety of different cultures. And just being able to talk to people of other cultures, it just provides you with a variety of different opinions on a variety of different subjects. So it doesn't have to be in the investment business. It could be in politics. It could be in a variety of different fields, whether it's sociology, psychology, just being able to see different points of view that come from people who have come to Canada, grown up with different experiences in Canada, come from different generations, whether it's great grandparents or grandparents, kids. Everybody sees the world differently based on the life they've lived up to that point, the stories they've heard, their backgrounds, their time in different countries. So that was a really big experience that shaped me when I was younger, and that continues to shape me today as I interact with lots of people, whether it's clients, whether it's companies and their executives, and whether that's at the grocery store, doing daily chores, right? It's just being able to get other opinions and thinking through, what opportunities, their thought processes. It really shapes your thinking and moves you along, which I think is really, really, really important. As an investor, you don't want to really get tunnel vision that things only work one way, because what I found in investing, there's all sorts of, the world's a bit of an unpredictable place. And so you have to think about things differently, whether that's more formally called scenario analysis, or just taking different points of view and seeing what can go right, and more importantly, what can go wrong.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, sometimes I've heard the best deals you've done for your portfolio are the deals that you didn't do.
The misses are near misses, right? So
the near misses. That's right. Yes, with the rocket that's landed 50 feet away from you as opposed to on you, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So as a follow-up that, so what does Asian Heritage Month mean to you then?
Well, to me, it's the recognition and celebration of the cultural diversity, the different points of view, and the contributions that the Asian community has brought to Canada, as well as their contributions and participation in things going on around the world. So it's just what's the cultural diversity, the contributions, and other things that the Asian community has given to not just Canada, but to other countries around the world. And it's a celebration of that. And I think that's very important.
Okay, great. One of the last two questions here, but what are some of the interesting hobbies or talents that most people may not know about you?
A few things. It's just when you see people, sometimes you just see the people wearing a suit and you have a certain image of them. But I did grow up on a farm, so riding and racing dirt bikes
Oh, wow.
was a different aspect to me growing up. I don't do that anymore. I don't live on a farm, so it's a little bit more difficult to access a hobby like that. I still play ice hockey, so just a few different parts of me, as opposed to a person who's an investor and opens up annual reports and reads balance sheets and executive and management commentary. There are other things, and it's nice to have fun just doing active things like playing hockey.
Yeah, sure. Is there anything else you'd like to address?
No, I just wanted to thank you, Phil, and the CSE for having me on as a guest. And if people do have questions, I'm active on Twitter. Please feel free to reach out to me or reach out via the firm's website, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
What would the firm's website be then?
So we're at www.portfoliomanagement.ca, and my Twitter handle is Anish Chopra _PMC. And so happy to connect with people through either of those methods. And I do post reasonably often on LinkedIn as well. So right now, I'm just working on a series related to Canadian business people, Canadian financiers who've made significant contributions to Canadian finance and to Canadian business. I've entitled the series "The Unforgettables," and it's just a
Great.
lot of interesting facts about different personalities who've helped Canada move along in the business area and in the finance area.
Okay, that's great. So to wrap this up, again, thank you very much. I'm with Anish Chopra, who is the Managing Director and Portfolio Manager for Portfolio Management Corporation. My name is Phillip Shum from the CSE. I'm the Director of Listings Development here in Toronto, Canada. And stay tuned for another episode in the near future of the CSE's Asian Heritage Month. Thank you.